I'm Advisor Michael, and I will be the moderator for today. So thank you all for joining us this evening. Briefly, we would like to talk about COMSURN, the Manuscript Writing Hub, before introducing our speaker for today. So COMSURN, which stands for College of Medical Sciences Undergraduate Research Network, is a student-driven initiative dedicated to strengthening research culture, academic excellence, and professional development among undergraduates at the College of Medical Sciences, University of Benin, Benin City, Nigeria. We exist to inspire a new generation of health researchers in providing structured mentorship, research training, and opportunities for active participation in meaningful scientific work. Our network promotes collaboration across departments in the college, ensuring that every student, regardless of their background, has access to quality research guidance, ethical project design, and others. Excellence, unity, and growth. We believe that empowering students today create innovators, leaders, and researchers who will shape tomorrow's medical landscape. The Manuscript Writing Hub. The Manuscript Writing Hub from the teaching and mentorship of activities of his initiators, Bolu and Mo, who had been informally guiding early career researchers in manuscript preparations. Over time, these activities have grown into a structured platform, culminating in the formation of his first dedicated WhatsApp group in March 2023. Manuscript Writing Hub was founded as a visionary response to research gap, with focus in empowering African researchers to publish impactful, high-quality manuscripts that can shape science and policy locally. Need to build research and publishing capacity, while the mission is to equip African scientists with the tools, skills, and resources they need to produce quality manuscripts and contribute meaningfully to the global scientific knowledge. The activities include interactive Zoom classes on manuscript writing and publishing, educational blog for sharing practical strategies and best practices, YouTube tutorial that provides step-by-step guidance, peer support platform that foster mentorship, collaboration, and knowledge exchange. The programs for the Manuscript Writing Hub include Manuscript Writing Hub Group. There are 3 fully subscribed groups that provide mentorship, peer review, and daily guidance. They also offer dedicated research opportunity, collaboration, and call for paper, as well as workshop, training sessions, and structured mentorship. The Manuscript Writing Hub is committed to expanding its reach, fostering a culture and high-quality research, and ensuring that African scientists have a strong voice in the global scholarships. For today, our speaker is Dr. Qudus O. Lawal. He is a physician and public health researcher at Ira Specialist Teaching Hospital, Edo State, Nigeria, with advanced training in clinical research from Harvard University and the United States National Institutes of Health, where he completed the Principles and Practice of Clinical Research program. He is a faculty member at the Manuscript Writing Hub, where he mentors researchers in scientific writing, peer-reviewed publication, and responsible authorship. His work focuses on cancer prevention and control, cervical cancer elimination, and health system strengthening in low and middle-income countries, with contributions to the National HPV vaccination and screening initiative in Nigeria. Dr. Lawal is committed to building sustainable research capacity and translating evidence into policy and practice. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Dr. Lawal as he comes to take the stage and takes us on Introduction to Scientific Research. Dr. Lawal, please, you have the stage and you're welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much for that kind introduction. We are happy to be a part of this and work with COMSURN to help build capacity in research amongst students. We've been doing this for quite a while. We've done it with students from Ilorin, students all over the countries have joined our manuscript writing up training for students, and I'm sure some of your colleagues are positively benefited from that. So we're happy to be here, and we have 5 minutes gone, so I'll just go straight to today's topic. Today's topic is Introduction to Scientific Research. When you say introduction to a concept, it's usually like you're trying to touch every bit of that topic, touching every aspect, but not necessarily going in depth into each of them. And that's what I'll be doing today. Giving an overview of what scientific research is. But my overall goal, as I will show on one of my slides, is to demystify what research is, to make research be a part of it rather than something you look others do, rather than see research as something highfalutin and only in the comfort of some few people. Everyone who have an inquisitive mind is a researcher, and that's how I want you to see research. So as I go on, I want the class to be interactive, and I'll be calling on us to put messages on the chat box for me to take a look at. And some of the messages that you're putting on the chat box will form part of the presentation. So it's a discussion. You'll be giving some input into the presentation. So let's get started. Yeah, I said my overall objective for this presentation is to demystify research and its components, especially clinical research. And I'll put down here some pictures, which I'll come back to towards the end of the lecture, to show you that this is a process, it's a series, it's something that starts from question to a prosperous or a good life or a good quality of life. And that's what research is all about. So breaking my objective into bits, first I will talk about scientific research, what research is, and be asking you a question what research means to you. I will be talking about why do we do research, what's its importance in medicine, discuss the different classification of research. There are 1,001 ways research have been classified. Of course, if you look at the title of this presentation, it states scientific research, which means that there are possible other type of research which are possibly not scientific research. So you will get to know different, and whatever classification I give you or types I give you are not exhaustive. As you go more in your research career, you get to see different type of classification of research. Then I've also been asked to, discuss the components of a research paper, more or less like what are the components of a manuscript, and tell us how through the cycle of research goes. It's a continuous cycle that never breaks. You get a problem, you get a solution, you go back to the solution leads you to another problem, and the cycle continues. So the first question, like I said, I want it to be interactive. So tell me, what does research mean to you? If I ask you, if I mention research to you, what comes to your mind? Give me one or two words of what research means to you. I'm going to be checking the chat box. If I'm not able to, I'll be calling Akinyemi or Emmanuel to help me read out what is there. So I'll give 2 minutes to see what is on the chat box. I'm waiting. Our messages are flying in. One more minute, and I'll call on Emmanuel to help me read out what we have there. I'm sure we have a couple of responses on the chat box. Please, Emmanuel or Akinyemi, please help me. Maybe in the first 10.
Okay, sir.
Do you have responses?
Yes, the responses we have here.
Oh, great. Yeah.
We have discovery, in-depth study on a particular subject, finding solutions, a deep dive into a particular topic. Then someone said research to me is asking why and getting the answers to the question. We also have curiosity, investigation, to analyze and draw conclusions. Then we have an answer here: systematic method for a hypothesis in which it is analyzed, data is collected, and to generate new knowledge. Well, those are the first things.
It's beautiful responses. I mean, my work is done here. There's nothing to add to this. I mean, each of the responses you've given from the participant has shown that we have an idea of what research is. It's organized curiosity, it is discovery, it is, all the words that have been used to describe research are quite valid. And I will seek your assistance to help me compile all of this together. Actually, they are beautiful responses. So please help compile these responses together. Probably we'll use it in one of my next presentation. Thank you.
All right, sir.
Sorry, I muted my mic. Yeah. So there is this definition by the human health. Sorry, I can't remember the full name. HHS, that the body that came up with common rule in the United States definition of research, and just like we saw on the chat box, there are different ways different people have defined research, none of which is superior to the other. There is just different perspectives of describing the same thing. But the easiest definition that you can easily see from the word research itself is that it contains the word re, which means and search, which means looking for, finding out, curious. What other word has been used in this definition that I saw? Investigation. So you are looking for, you are searching, you are showing curiosity again. Somebody has shown curiosity before. And that's when we talk about research, we say research is building on existing information to generate new solutions. But the definition of the common, which is one of the commonly referred to, is that research is a systematic investigation. Note the word systematic. It doesn't just say it's an investigation, but it's systematic. And that's why when somebody said organized curiosity, I gave a thumbs up to that, which include developing, testing and evaluation, design to contribute to develop or to contribute to generalizable knowledge. It means you are investigating to get a knowledge that can be generalizable. That's one definition. Another way we define research is that it's a systematic collection of data, analysis of data, interpretation of data to solve a clinical problem. That's clinical research. There are different definitions, like I mentioned, but all of them are speaking to the fact that research is about systematically asking questions with the purpose of generating knowledge or solution to a problem that has been identified. So that's the whole essence of research. And if I ask you, I'm sure a lot of you have in the past systematically asked questions to solve a problem that they've encountered in their daily life. And that is research. So you do not need to carry big books and be in the library all years or in the lab all years before you become a researcher. We are constantly doing this, but you must do it in a structured manner. And the essence is to develop, to get a solution. And there are many stories of research. I'm sure many of you have heard of this story in your early days of medical school and maybe even before then. When you talk about Isaac Newton laws, his story goes thus: that Isaac Newton was playing, then he got tired and sat under the apple tree, and the apple fell before it. Rather than just pick the apple and eat, his curiosity came to play. He asked himself question: why did this apple not go up? Rather, why did it rather come down? Something must be at play, and that was the basis of law of gravity. So as a scientist, as a researcher, you are always asking questions, asking whys. I think one of the responses on the chat box was why. Asking whys, organized whys about what is happening around you. So a researcher is usually inquisitive, and that's about Isaac Newton. Another popular story is Archimedes, which the story said that he ran out of the bath naked, shouting Eureka, that he has discovered something. And what was the story about? A certain king at that time has asked that a special ring be made for him, made of gold. And blacksmith and all of them went out to make gold. Some of them make gold. Some of them make ring that was gold plated rather than gold itself, while some made real gold. And the king was going to find a means or devise a structure to determine which exactly is the real gold and which is the fake gold, so to say. And what he did, he set out, he asked scientists to go tell him how best to do that. And while Archimedes was taking his bath, he noticed that as he went into the bath displaced some quantity of water, which he says is equivalent to his weight. So with that, he was able to devise that when they throw the rings into the ring into a pool of water, they are going to displace water, and the one that is denser will displace more water, and as such, you can know which one is more genuine than the other. So you can see the depth of thinking that went into Archimedes' experiment. and research about. This is the kind of mindset that is expected of every one of us. So there are certain characteristics we look at for when we talk about research. Some of them, some of the research that you're going to do will have all these qualities, those characteristics. Some of them will have part of it, but generally, the more of the characteristics that is applicable, the more reliable the research is. And all of this finding, all of these characteristics is what you should target to have in your research work. One is generalizability. And if you look at the definition of research that I gave you earlier, it's about having generalizable knowledge. A research should be such that when you are done doing your research, your findings should be able to be appropriate for you to be able to generalize your finding to a certain population of interest. So that's one key characteristic of a good research. They should be controlled. Now, being controlled is not a characteristic that all research would have, but as much as possible, we want a research to occur within a control system so that you have full control of the parameters at play at your research, and you can really detect effects which you are interested in. Then the steps you take in your research should be rigorous. It should be such that you followed the best method available for you to do the research. The processes you use in doing your research should be such that they are reliable, they are what have been shown to be the most appropriate method for the study you're carrying out. So your research method should be rigorous. Also, you must follow methods that have been shown to be empirical, something that can be replicable in terms of the processes you go through. It should be such that you are following steps that are logical. Let me use that word. Then it should be systematic. You shouldn't do research just pick something at A, then without following a step B, you jump to C and D, and you said you've gotten a result E. We're not going to accept a result E from you if the steps you are expected to follow were not followed. Then it should be reliable. Reliability of research means that when you are done carrying out your research, it should be such that if Emmanuel carries out the research in UBTH, I should be able to get the same results as Emmanuel doing the same study if I follow the same process you follow. So reliability speaks to you getting the same result once you get once you follow the same process. So your research should be reliable. While validity means that you are getting something as close as possible to the real world effect. So if I say that participants in this class, based on a research that I've carried out, are able to, will be able to replicate what I've done. If it's a result of a research, I should be sure that indeed, if I put it to test, that's the real fact of the training, not just an off-shot result. So it should be valid, it should be as close as possible to the real effect you're trying to detect. The higher the validity of a result, the more reliable it is speaking to the solution the problem you seek to get solution to, and the more it will be effective in getting that solution. So if you get a research finding that is not valid, you get a result, no doubt, but it's not going to be able to solve the solution problem you have at hand. So you have to ensure your research is valid. Researches are usually either for the purpose of generating hypotheses or testing hypotheses. There is always a mindset or a scientific guess behind a research, or you are trying to generate data for you to make a guess. I repeat, you either have a scientific, which is an hypothesis, to test whether your guess is right or wrong, or you are collecting data in order to be able to generate an hypothesis. So your research is usually either of these two. It should be analytical and accurate. Must be credible. Your result must be trustworthy. The person carrying research itself must be credible, so that people have trust in what you find. Research. if scientists lose credibility, then the work of science is gone. The value of research is gone. And that is why in ethics, one of the key things we focus on is to ensure that the research that comes out is credible. And it is dangerous if credibility of research is lost among the population. It means people will not trust research. And that's one thing that we are worried about. And that's why it's important we start training you guys at this level. When people start saying that the results we churn out from Africa, from Nigeria, are fictitious, they are not credible, then whatever we do is not going to be accepted, irrespective of how accurate our result is, because we've lost credibility. So as a researcher, we must ensure that we maintain the credibility of research. And that's why one of the key things we are going to be discussing within this training series is ethics. Then you should be critical of your processes. People should review your work. People should be present in your research. So I'm back again to you guys. I want to hear from you again. Why do research? What does research means to you as a researcher? Yes, you are either a researcher already or a prospective researcher. So what does it mean to you? What value does research have to you? I'm going to be coming to the chat box to look. Well, again, I'm going to give 2 minutes to have. Manuel, they 10 or about, just let me know so that we move on. Can we?
Okay, sir. So for the responses we have here, we have an opportunity to contribute to our generation's knowledge and understanding. We also have research gives hope for possible improvements in the future. It is the beginning of evidence-based solutions. Finding answers, in brackets, solutions to global problems. Research helps assess a particular quantity and its influence on the society. Research helps to create solutions to existing problems. We have providing solutions to the identified problem. We also have to provide solutions to the gaps in knowledge, such as salt-sensitive hypothyroidism or peripheral arterial disease, to assess prevalence for policy improvement. We also have, it gives the opportunity to find real-time answers and possible solutions to general questions or problems. We also have, helps you satisfy your curiosity and helps you gain knowledge.
Yeah,
So
great, great
I've read out
responses.
12.
I mean,
Yes.
it's okay. It's fine. Again, you help me compile this. I mean, it will be good to have them somewhere kept. Great responses, and I agree with all the responses. So I'm happy that I didn't get responses like research is meant to make money, research is meant to for what's it called, to be popular, research is meant to things for promotion and all of that. Indeed, all of these characteristics, all of these purposes that I mentioned are indeed correct, and they are valid routes to do research, no doubt. You can do research for the purpose of, public research for the purpose of promotion, pressure. It is valid, no doubt. You can do research because you want to make money. Yes, there are grants for research for which, no doubt, you get some funding for yourself to build yourself. You can do research for many reasons, which in reality, you can do research for the purpose of getting manuscript, for the purpose of traveling out. That's the JAPA syndrome, which I'm sure many people on the call are possibly interested in research on. And there's this popular saying these days, involve me. Yeah, it's good to get people getting involved in research, but it's the why you do research resonated a lot today. It's about problem solving, it's about solution. Remember I mentioned earlier that research starts from identifying problem. So it is you solving that problem you've identified. That's what research is all about. It's about you systematically getting information, data to answer questions, to solve a problem. And that should be at the back of your mind when you are doing research, and not just mere career progression and all of that. If career progression, money, popularity is guiding you, is a guiding force, what is your objective for doing research, then the tendency for you to commit unethical practices is high. The tendency for you to go the route of doing research misconduct is high, because you are going to be pushed under the pressure of meeting up with those goals that you have. But if the goal of your research is to solve problem, it will solve, identify problem and find around you, know that you're going to do it the right way, because you want to get a solution that you know will work. And that is what I want to imbibe in you at this stage of your career, that whatever research you're going to get involved in, irrespective of what type of research you're doing, ensure that you're doing it for the purpose of solving a problem. Even if a case report you are writing, if it's a manuscript you are doing on case report, ensure you are doing that case report for the purpose of solving a problem, be it the fact that people may not have information about this case, or this is a representation of this case. You are doing it for a purpose which has the utilitarian goal of solving problem. So beyond the benefit of research to the researcher, there are also benefits to clinical practice, which many of the responses I've heard today have spoken to, improving the quality of care. And you realize that all of these things that is mentioned are essentially helping to solve problems. When you get advances in medical knowledge, you are solving problem of medicine. When you get to improve clinical care of patients, you are solving problem. When you get evidence-based practice or guidelines, you are solving problem of manual shape policies, research, clinical research, which I'm sure you can think of, and as has been highlighted on the screen, all of these are solving problems, and we should have this at the back of our minds. So what are the type of research? I think we need to move a little faster. There are several, I mentioned at the start of the discussion, there are several classifications of research, and whatever I will be doing today is just going to be touching on them, rather than going in depth into them. So the first classification I'm talking about now in this on this slide is basic and applied research. Basic research essentially refers to knowledge generating research, which basically is more of using animal study or pre-human studies to generate knowledge about, understanding about relationship between entities, between variables. While applied science, applied research speaks to using the research finding from basic knowledge to apply to humans, to apply to solve a problem. So basic research essentially are generating information, while the information you've generated from the basic research, you apply it in applied research in order to test how those basic knowledge helps to solve a problem. Now, Again, you can classify based on basic or clinical research or epidemiological research. And when you go to conferences, I mean, this the way most conferences go, where you have people presenting on basic research or laboratory research, clinical research, and epidemiological research. The basic research, as I've described, is more of laboratory. The clinical research speaks to research involving humans and how humans problem are solved, while the public health research is more of looking at the problem beyond the individual person. Rather, it's looking at the general um, the general population, how a particular uh, concept under study affect general population at population level, and each of these research types have their fortress where we use them. So if you want to generate knowledge, you're definitely going to go to laboratory and know how genetic interaction plays, molecular interaction, and all of that. If you want to do investigation about medical, how medication trials, which public we are doing across looking at population level research. Then again, we can divide research into qualitative, quantitative, and a mixed method. And we're going to be going in depth into this as we go on. Then more recently, we start talking about translational research, implementation research. Again, I would want to go to the chat box for the last time and ask that somebody on the, sorry, is my slide still showing, please? I think I clicked on the wrong thing. Please confirm that my slide is still showing.
Yes, it's still showing, sir. Still showing.
In slideshow?
Yes. But it's in
Okay.
this types of research page.
Yes. So I need someone to go to the chat box and tell me what they know about quantitative research. Anything. Quantitative and qualitative research. I'm sure you must have heard of that before. Just tell me what comes to your mind. All right, our time is fast spent. Can you just give me the first 5 things that we have? Hello?
Okay, sir.
Hello? Am I
So,
still being yeah, just give me 5 or
yes.
let's move fast.
Okay. The responses we have here, we have quantitative research is using questionnaires, while qualitative research is doing interviews. Another response is quantitative research involving numbers, while qualitative is for the quality of things. Then
Okay.
quantitative research
I'm also
involves
in charge of
investigating. Qualitative research involves investigating incidence rates. We also have quantitative research involves large sample sizes compared to qualitative. And the last one is quantitative research usually has to do with a large group, while qualitative has a smaller one. In qualitative, the findings are not generalized, while for quantitative, the findings are.
So it seems to me I'm preaching Catholic to the Pope. It seems to me people on this call are already researchers already. I mean, good responses. Yeah. But I'm going to pick on the last comment I saw. Quantitative is more objective, qualitative is more subjective. That's not actually accurate in terms of And this, I'm picking on this because a lot of people mention qualitative research does not necessarily mean that it is subjective. It's just the method, the approach you're doing. So qualitative research are objective, and you need to follow a process. And I'll mention here, I'm not going to go in depth into that, to know that just as you have study designs for quantitative research, also know that you have study designs for qualitative research. And interviews, somebody interview is just one of the tools, just like questionnaire is just one of the tools for quantitative research. Quantitative research has research such as theory, logical study, case study, narrative review, and all of that. About 6 or 7 study designs under qualitative research. So qualitative research is actually a whole different ball game on its own, and something that helps us to get depth to knowledge. Quantitative research gives you breadth, it helps you measure and you quantify something. That's quantitative. While qualitative research gives you the quality, the depth of finding. And somebody rightly mentioned that qualitative research is study, and that's why I mentioned when I was talking about
Excuse me, sir. Sorry, sir. Your slide has stopped displaying.
No, I'm not moving. I'm not moving.
Okay.
So
It's not showing at all. That's what I mean.
yeah, so oh really? Let me just.
Yes, sir.
I tried to come to the chat box is happening and I missed my way. Sorry. Okay now. Please confirm when it's showing. Hello, confirm when it's showing. Am I still being heard?
Okay, sir. It's still not showing.
Is it showing?
No, it's not.
Sure, it's showing. Hello? Maybe I have to log back and join. Can anyone hear me? Can you chat the chat box? So it is there.
I can hear you, but
We can hear you.
Okay. So let me stop sharing and reshare. Oh, my voice is breaking. Sorry about that. So I'll try to reshare my slide now. It's not showing. I've lost everything. What about now?
No, it's not.
What did I just do?
Or should we share it?
Please do. Okay, showing now, Abi. I think
Yes,
I'm
yes, it's
seeing it
showing
now.
now,
Somebody is
it's
sharing
showing
for me. Okay, so I will come back on chat. All right, thank you. Learned my lesson. All right, so then there is the mixed method in which you combine the two, and I'm going to go a little in depth into it. I think our time is fast spent. Oh yeah. So quantitative research is about numbers, about statistics, about measurements. It's about putting numbers to experiences and trying to use the number to, meaning of incidences or events around us. As Stephen defined in 1946, that measurement is about ascribing numbers or numerals to events based on set rule. So we use a rule, just like we use a rule to say that height in centimeter will be measured in along this line. So we quantify it using numbers, and we use that numbers to make meaning of those events. While qualitative research is about you asking questions and understanding the perspective and experiences of people and using that to make impression about what your research question is. The two are their own uses based on what you're trying to study, and it is the approach, the philosophy behind what you want to study that will determine which of them is more appropriate for you. And the two of them can be used depending on, like I mentioned, according to what you have in mind. Lastly, you can you can have mixed method research. What mixed method research is to quantitative and qualitative research. You want to have the benefit of having the two, and you can do them in different methods. One of it is to do convergent method, in which you do both qualitative and quantitative research concurrently, and you do what we call triangulation of your finding to make meaning of what you find. Then you have the sequential explanatory, in which you do a quantitative research first, and in order for you to and have an in-depth understanding of what your quantitative research have gotten you, you do a qualitative research after. We call it quant-quali. That is the first word, quant-quali. Then you can have sequential exploratory, in which you do the qualitative research first. Then you now, based on the finding of the qualitative research, you now want to measure the effects, and you now do a quantitative. So either way you can do, based on the question you're studying, will determine which way you follow for doing the research. All of them have their own application, and it's something you can do. You must understand each of these and know where it best applies. I'm not going to go into basic research. I was mentioned it, but of note is that it's the foundation for clinical researches. And usually, if you look at clinical trials, we usually have the preclinical stage, which are usually the basic or the laboratory research. Then it goes to the clinical research, which we often call clinical trials. But clinical trial is just one of the clinical research. There are many other ones. I've talked about research. So let me give you an overview of this. This is just a simplified classification of what studies are all about. This is given by the Oxford Center for Evidence-Based Medicine. And you see a different description of this. I mean, picture of this in different way, but this is a simple one that I can use for explanation. So when you are doing studies, we have what we call variables. Variables are events or things that can change and can be measured. So your height can change. Sorry, yeah. Your weight, let me use weight. Weight is a better example. Your weight can change and it can be measured. So it is a variable. So anything that can change and can be measured is a variable. So the variable at play in your study determine the type of study you are doing, and how you measure it is also important. So the most basic form of research is description, where you answer the questions how, why, what, no, where, why, what. You are just describing what is in existence. You do nothing about the variables at play. So you go to a place, you want to know, I come to the call that we're having now. I want to know, what's the average age participant in this group. All I will need to do is to ask you, or you should all put your age on the chat box. I find an average and I describe it. Oh, the mean age of participant in this group is 29. That's a description of the population I'm studying, and it's the most basic form of study. So it's a descriptive study. Under this, you can also have case reports, which is not shown on this page, which is you going to the population and going to your record or to patient that you've managed and describing what has happened around them. The important of case report, many of the people we know that case reports. HIV/AIDS is case report of homosexuals in the United States having a certain type of disease that was described, that was later now known to be HIV/AIDS. So it is the most basic form of report. It's also important. So I'm mentioning this so that you don't, because it's one of the lists in hierarchy of evidence, you don't discard case report and think that it's not important. It's important, and especially for medical students like you or students like you, it is always good to start with case reports. Look for interesting cases and report it. Let the world know that this type of case exists. Then how what we call survey, which is cross-sectional study. A survey is a picture, a snapshot of what is happening. So you just take a picture of what is happening in a group. So I can take a survey amongst these participants in this group,
I
looking
know how
at
to send it.
looking at different variables within you and describing them. Oh, 20% of the class are female, while 40% are female. Majority of them are in 500 level. Just one of them is in 100 level. Just a survey. So it means in a cross-sectional study, the outcome variable and the exposure variable, you take them as you want to check. I want to check how, excuse me, I want to check the relationship between gender and attendance of this training. So gender is my exposure, while attendance is my outcome. I'm taking the two of them at the same time. That's what makes it concessional. It's a snapshot. It's like you go to the published picture, and that's what survey or cross-sectional study is. So there are two types of cross-sectional, because you're going to see in the other side of the slide. This type is descriptive cross-sectional study. There's also ecological study, in which you're also doing a description of a population, but rather than do a person-based description, describe based on population. So rather than describe persons within this class, I'm going to describe the whole population. So the whole group will become an entity within the study, within the description, rather than the individual. So that's what makes ecological study different. So, for example, we did an ecological study comparing the early childhood carries amongst persons in the world. So we compare them based on population, Nigeria, or based on continent, Africa. That is using the group as a unit rather than the individual within the population. Then qualitative studies are most times descriptive, as I've mentioned earlier. Now, analytical, as the word goes, where you try to probe and see relationship between two things. So analytical studies can be experimental and observational. And the difference between observational study and experimental study is that in experimental study, you are giving intervention. There's an intervention within your population. While in observational study, all you are doing is you are standing there and looking at what is happening. You are not intervening, though you are comparing two groups, but you are not intervening. In experimental study, it usually randomized trial, in which you randomly allocate people into the two. When you go into your study design lecture, we're going to go in depth into this and explain each of these designs, but it's good to have an overview of this. Then the quasi-experimental study, in which case you have is comparison, it's not a randomized trial. Rather, you are comparing what we also call it a sorry, what's skipped mark. Essentially in quasi-experimental study, you are not randomizing people. You are just comparing the effect of an intervention on a group and seeing, for example, a pre and post intervention. Before this lecture, I'm going to make an assessment of your level of knowledge of research methodology. And after that's and a form of pre and post evaluation. So example of observation analytical study includes cohort study. In cohort study, you follow a group of people for a period of time. So you start at time A, let's say now is the time A. You follow them up for a period of time, say for 6 months. You now check the outcome in them. So at the start of the study, level of exposure, the state of exposure among the population, then you follow them up. At that time, they don't have the outcome of interest. You now follow them up for a period of time. So some people are exposed, some people are not exposed to the variable of interest. Then you follow them up for a period of time and check whether they develop the outcome. Some will develop the outcome, some won't develop. At the end of the day, you can make a conclusion that whether your exposure leads to the outcome of interest. Then on the converse, you have the case control, in which case you are looking back. In case control, you have the outcome already. So you have people that already have the outcome. and some people do not have the outcome, you now look back in time and see whether they ever had the exposure of interest you are interested in. So in case control, you move from outcome to exposure. In core study, you move from exposure to outcome. I'm not going to confuse you about core study, prospective and prospective core study, especially since we don't have time. But if questions come about it, I can explain further. But just know clearly that core study moves from exposure to outcome, while in case control, you move from outcome to exposure. For cross-sectional analytical, just like its descriptive pattern, colleague, it's but the difference here is that the snapshot you are taking is in two different groups, and you are going to make comparisons. So I go to amongst the population of students in IST, do a personal study amongst them, they make a comparison of those two snapshots. That makes it a cross-sectional analytical study, as against the survey or descriptive cross-sectional, in which is just in a single population of interest. I brought this in just to expose us to what this is more like a more recent in terms of research, which is translational and implementation research. So we realize that when you do research, when you do basic research and you make a discovery, it takes on the average from a study that was carried out in the early 1990s, that it takes on the average 17 years for a study that was carried out to translate to patient benefiting from it. So there is a need to now start doing research to understand how this movement will move from, how it will bridge the gap between the bench and the bedside, how we get real impact from the research carrying out, so that we don't do research. Many of you have done research that is just lying down on your table that has not been used for management of patients. So we need to bridge that gap, and that's what translational research is all about. So we were moving from laboratory to population. So it's there are different stages. T1, the T1 is about the research in the laboratory. Then you've done the research in the laboratory, you've seen that it works. The next thing you want to know, that does it work in human? When it works in human, then you want to know whether it works in the patient population that you're interested in. Then if it works in patient population, you want to in practice. If it doesn't work in clinical practice, you want to know how you would disseminate that from the population. It was discovered HPV virus is responsible for cervical cancer development, but it's not until 1996 or 1997, 2006, 2007, before HPV vaccine was developed. So it took an average of 30 years for funding to convert into a policy of vaccine of young girls with cervical cancer. So this translation helps us to bridge. Now, talking about we know that this works. So it's between that stage of does it work in patient and in practice, does it work in practice. It's between we know it works in patient, but how do we ensure that we in the best and efficient science in, and it's a branch of knowledge that, and it's something I want you to learn more about. So the way we make use of work good and efficient, so you have to know that give a after section, what is going through my scene to the population to get that effect I'm interested in. So I think we are rounding up, and we're looking at research cycle. What's the cycle? And from what I've said so far, I'm sure you must have gotten a glimpse into what research cycle is all about. The first thing in research is identify a problem. And as medical students, as researcher, you must always look around you, identify problems. And you're not identifying problems for identifying state about a solution. If you see a patient, if you are doing a word round or as a researcher, as a physiologist, or whichever part of science or practice you are, as you are doing your work, always look at a problem that you don't have an understanding of. Then ask yourself question, how do we solve the problem? And that is how big ideas come up. You need to be inquisitive before you can solve a problem. And that's where research starts from. Then the next thing is, once you identify a problem, you don't go to do research immediately. You go to review literature, you formulate a question based on the literature you find. There is design, you pick a place design for your study, what you mentioned earlier. You collect data, you analyze your data. Remember, we said research about data collection, analysis, and interpretation. Then based on your finding, you interpret your finding and you disseminate. It is unethical, let me mention this here, to do a research work and not disseminate your finding. You can disseminate it as a full publication, as an abstract, as a presentation at conferences, but it is unethical for you to do a research and not disseminate it. And the reason is that if you not disseminate your research, then your research will not be available when people go to review literature, and they won't know that you've solved the problem in the past, and they will be repeating it, and it's unethical. So it is important that you must disseminate your finding, and that's the cycle of research. And by the time you disseminate your finding, from your finding, there will be gaps in knowledge that need to be fixed. And again, the cycle continues. Somebody see that from the work you've done, they see an area that has not been covered, then that problem is a basis for them to formulate a research question, design, and that cycle continues. And that's what we've been doing right from before Christ up to today. And there is no way you will say all problems have been solved. Every day, new problem. The solution you generate today is actually a problem that needs to be solved. I mean, I don't know if you get the statement I'm making. For every solution that we get, there's always a space for us to improve on that solution and make it better. So I'll just run through the remaining slides. The slide will make available for us to go through. Every research starts from research idea, and I've mentioned this, that all questions have not been answered. That's what many people say. They will say all questions have been answered. It is not being thorough that makes us think that all questions have been answered. What we just know is just the tip of the iceberg. I need to move fast. Our time is fast spent. You're going to have the slide. So literature review. I've mentioned the importance of literature review. So why do we do literature review? It avoids us repeating what we've done in the past. It allows us to know where the gap is. It makes us to be able to build stronger theory from the research you've reviewed. You'll be able to generate a strong hypothesis that you can test. Then you're able to select the best method to answer your study and establish credibility in your study based on the fact that you are standing on the shoulder of giants. Remember what Azinikin said. He said that if he sees further, it's because he's standing on the shoulders of giants. So literature review helps you to stand on the shoulder of giants that have walked the path before you. So you build on what they've done rather than reinvent the wheel. So lastly, this was added to what I need to cover, so I think I should just mention it. During the course of our training, we're going to touch each of these. So this is the skeleton of a manuscript. The first thing, and I should mention this, the first thing everybody that sees your manuscript sees is the title, and actually possibly the last thing you're expected to come up with when you're writing a manuscript. When we get to that, we're going to explain further. The abstract is like a summary of your findings that summarize the key components. So all the components of your research work will be in your abstract, but it's just going to be the key things. I'm also going to teach you how to write abstracts. The introduction is answering the background of your study and the justification and gap and the gap in knowledge, so that people know what is known, what we need to know, and what you intend to do, and what is the importance of us knowing this question that you want to answer. Your methods is going to describe how the steps you intend to follow in answering the question. Then the result is you presenting your data, what exactly came out of your study, the way it is. You are not making any inference. Then your discussion is now you sitting with your result and discussing your finding, not only based on what you find, but also based on what others have found in the past, and putting into perspective what your result means in the face of what you are studying. Then you conclude telling the reader what they go on with. And of course, you must reference. Each component of this is actually a lecture session that can be taken on its own, but this is an overview of what a scientific paper means. So in summary, research is systematic and purposeful. You must follow the steps like I've mentioned, and you must do it for a purpose of solving problem. It is essential for medical progress, because I'm saying this because I'm a medical personnel, but it's important for all progress in life. As I mentioned, we are all researchers in all our spheres of life. We look for problem and solving. So for us to progress in life, we must solve problem. There are different questions. So you must look for the appropriate question to ask and the appropriate ways to answer your question. And research cycle is continuous, it never stops. Every solution you get begets another solution that can be gotten in future, and that is what research is all about. Thank you for your time. We usually want to end on time, but I think I spent some extra minutes on the call, 3 minutes extra, but I didn't start on time, so you can forgive me for that. Some length of introduction was done. Yeah, thank you very much. I'll take question.
Yeah. All right, sir. Thank you very much for your in-depth analysis, yet relatable examples that you used in this talk. I would like to start off with a question while we're waiting for a question from in the chat box. My question is, as a medical student, what should be my first take at research? What kind of research can I do while in medical school? And yeah, how do I go about it generally? Thank you. Please drop your questions in the chat box so that we can read them out. Thank you.
Oh, all right. I'll answer your question with one of our success story manuscript writing up. So the first set of manuscript writing up students, the first set of they did a research that was published 2 days ago, which was sorry, I can't quote it verbatim now. Sorry, it skips my mind. But they did a qualitative research, and qualitative research, like I was telling them, that is a hard nut to crack for a lot of people. But as medical students, they actually did a qualitative research on it was a qualitative research on their on enhancing research amongst medical and data students in Nigeria, and insight for the manuscript writing up. So you can do any form of research as medical student, but the low hanging fruit, I would say, is case reports, because you come across cases every day. Another simple thing you can do is survey. You can do a survey amongst your student, your classmate, and all of that, and it's going to be acceptable, and you're able to easily do it, and it's something you can actually try out, but nothing stops you. Sorry, my device is going off, so I want to change device. Hello? Please confirm that you can.
We can hear you, sir. We can hear you,
So
sir.
there is nothing stopping you from doing any type of research. Though, like I mentioned, surveys, that's descriptive constitutional studies, case reports, case series are low-hanging fruits that you can easily pick on to start with, especially working with your mentors. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir, it does. So we have some questions in the chat box.
Okay.
The first one is, for research, thank you, sir. For research to be recognized, is there a minimum population of people? That's the first question. The second question is, what are the differences between survey and questionnaire? That's the second question.
All right, thank you. Let me take those beautiful questions. So, in terms of number that you require to do a research, the number you require to do a research is a number that is appropriate to allow you generalize your finding to the population. Again, these are a little bit more technical than the lecture I've given today. So, for you to do a research work, you must have adequate sample size, because in research, in many of the research we do, especially quantitative research, because we don't have all the population of interest available to us, we pick sample, we pick a part of the population we want to study, and we now generalize to them. So the sample you are picking must be appropriate in terms of number to allow you to generalize, and there are parameters that come into play. So in terms of number, there is no fixed number that you need to carry out your research. It's based on calculation of your sample size and the power of study that you intend to have that determines what is appropriate. So there's no number that will say, oh, if you want to do a research, it must be 100 or 200 population. It depends on population you are studying, the power of the study in intent, the how far you use for your study. So those are things I guess we'll also touch on before the end of this course. Then the second one, difference between survey and questionnaire. Survey and questionnaire. Survey is a type of study design. Questionnaire is a tool. So if you are doing a survey, excuse me, one of the tools you use to do your survey is a questionnaire. That you can use to do a survey is a questionnaire. Questionnaire is that set of questions that you formulate based on your objective to gather information about the your study outcome from the population you are studying. So survey is another name for questionnaire study, which essentially is a snapshot of what is happening. Why questionnaire is the tool you use. I'm sure that answers the question.
Thank you, sir. Some other questions are: good evening, sir. Thank you for your presentation. My question is, how do you find research mentor? While another question is also, are there specific recommended sites for literature reviews? The third question is, please, how do we choose or know the sample size, assuming I'm doing it among tertiary students in a particular municipality?
Yeah, okay. Great. Let me respond to this before I forget. So I'll start from the last one. This call is not an appropriate avenue for me to help you calculate sample size. So what I would advise you to do is to get someone around close to you to help you with formula and how to pick your parameter. But essentially, there are certain parameters that come into play. The population you are studying, the prevalence of what you are studying in the population, the alpha you want to the alpha you pick, which usually is 0.05, the effects you want to determine, and the power of the study. Those are the things that come into population, and the study design you are using, because different study design have different sample size. So meet a statistician or someone there to help you with your study size calculation, or go online. And the what is easy these days, just go online, ask for sample size calculation for this particular type of study, and it's going to help you out with it. And just ensure that you validate whatever it gives you. So it's straightforward, but I won't be able to calculate sample size on this call. The second question, please. I know there are three questions.
The second question was, are there recommended sites
Okay,
for
okay. For
literature review?
Literature review. I am not sure I got the question clear, and I'm going to based on two understanding I have. If it's sites for you to learn to do literature, to sessions. Even we in manuscript writing, or if you go to our YouTube channel, you're going to see a session on literature review. I took one, one of our faculty also took one. So you're going to see, and I think we have a session on literature review in this lecture series, which I think I'm the one taking again, and we're going to go in depth into it. But in terms of, if you mean it is which databases can you check? There are a couple of databases: PubMed, Web of Science, Scopus, MDES, and all of that. Again, we have a session on literature review, so possibly leave that to that session. The last one.
Last question was, how do we find research mentors?
Oh, great, 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 great. And I think this is one of the most important questions, especially for students like you. The only way you can grow, I remember I quoted as a meeting earlier, the only way you can grow, not the only way, but the best way to grow in this research career is to get good, well, there are no bad mentors, there are bad mentors, to get mentors who believe in you and who are ready to support you. I have a mentor in person of Professor Morenike Fulayan, who has been guiding me and holding my hands and and moving me to places. Let me use the lingua franca of Gen Z, where I don't know. She has moving me places. Whatever I am today is based on the support I've gotten from her. And these are the type of things you need. So as students, I implore you to look around you for persons that you want to be like and get them. Be responsible. There are roles and rights and responsibilities of mentees. So be a good mentee and get a mentor. Look, your school is somewhere you can get mentor. If you see somebody even not in your school, you can speak to the person and they will mentor you. And that's where cold email comes in, where you write mails to people you've not met, who you fancy and you want to be like them. Tell them you want to be like them and you want them to guide you. Many people send me message, they want to be my mentee and all of that. I will get going from there. So get somebody who's ready and available to also support you. And there are 1,001 persons who want to support others. So it's your responsibility to look for them. And when you get one, yeah, good ones are not always available. So when you get one, ensure that you play your own role in the mentee mentorship relationship. I hope that addresses the question.
Thank you very much, sir. So I think that was the last question I saw in the chat box. I'm sure there are other questions that some people have not asked. So if you so kindly give us access to sort of like text you on LinkedIn. So we'll put I want to ask for permission to put your LinkedIn profile on the WhatsApp group so that for those that want to connect with you and possibly seek mentorship under your guidance, they will have access to do so. Then also, in case there are other questions they want to ask, we can also send those questions to you later on if that is allowed by you, sir.
Yeah, it's fine. But let me I take the phone back. But when I get to it, I'll respond. So if I have questions, I'll definitely respond.
Thank you very much, sir. I think with that, we have sort of come to the close of this particular session, being timely and timely to everyone that sort of on call. I hope you have learned a thing or two. We'll have our next session on Sunday. Thank you very much, sir, once again. Please, if you are still on, please just send the clapping emoji to appreciate Sir Lawal, Dr. Lawal, for the time and effort that he has put into being with us today. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, and good night.
That will come to the end of this section one of the research writing bootcamp. We'll be having our next session on Sunday, 4 p.m. West African time. Thank you and good night. If you have any question, please put it on the WhatsApp group so that we can send it to Dr. Lawal. Thank you. Please, Rebecca, you raised your hand. Please, you can unmute yourself if you have something to say.
Sorry, sir. Good evening, sir. Can we get the slide used?
The slide will be made accessible or available shortly. Thank you for noting that out.